Hey, what's going on, everybody? I am back. Sorry, there's a lot of little technical things going on with this here show. I got to work on sometimes. Sometimes it's hard to get everything perfect and right and just how I want it. I should also be sure to say this is the first time I'm actually streaming the show out on Instagram, which is kind of cool. So if you haven't already, check me out on Instagram at CitizenPete101. Also on Twitter and Facebook, and of course on good old YouTube. All right, back to the show. And if you haven't already, if you are on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, wherever you're watching this, do me a favor. Go ahead and like this channel, subscribe to this channel, and leave me a comment. This. I don't want to just be me ranting at a camera. I want to know what you think about all this stuff too. All right, so Trump TV, or as it's better known, Newsmax, just flipped on the president.
Newsmax has found no evidence that either Dominion or Smartmatic owns the other or has any business association with each other. We have no evidence that Dominion uses Smartmatic software or vice versa. No evidence has been offered that Dominion or Smartmatic use software or reprogrammed software that manipulated votes in the 2020 election.
Before the election even began, Trump started claiming fraud. First, it was the poll watchers. That didn't work. Then we had Dominion and Smartmatic, who he accused of changing the votes to from Biden to Trump, from Trump to Biden. Also, no dice. After that, Trump tried to get states to flip electors. And now they're trying to replace those electors with their own alternative electors.
As we speak today, an alternate slate of electors in the contested states is going to vote, and we're going to send those results up to Congress.
But let's be real, that's not going to work either. I actually looked into it a little bit, and you'd need both chambers of Congress to agree to swap out the electors. So unless Nancy Pelosi has a very, very big change of heart and decides to have Trump, who she hasn't talked to in months reportedly, a second term, it ain't happening. But if you thought that was all over, we could finally put the craziness behind us. Oh, just wait. The crazy is just getting started.
He could immediately, on his order, seize every single one of these machines around the country on his order. He could also order, within the swing states, if he wanted to, he could take military capabilities and he could place them in those states and basically rerun an election in each of those states. I mean, it's not unprecedented. I mean, these people out there talking about martial law, it's like it's something that we've never done. Martial law has been instituted 64 times.
Yeah, it's weird. The folks on the right who are also worried about, Obama, martial law are going to take our guns are now like, hey, martial law, that doesn't sound so bad. Over the weekend, an article came out about an all-out cage match, no holds barred blow up in the Oval Office. Michael Flynn, who was convicted of lying to the FBI and later pardoned by Trump, is reportedly calling on the president to call up the military and enact martial law to overturn the election. The idea is that he would redo the election in the 4 contested battleground states under the watch of the military. Now, if that sounds a little crazy, right? Supposedly, the rumor is that Trump was talked down from this by that Mark Meadows, his chief of staff. So, who knows? We've all heard these crazy Trump story reports from inside the White House, and they seem to get crazier and crazier with time. And sometimes these things happen, sometimes they don't. And I totally get being looking at this and not being convinced it's true. There's been a lot of crying wolf when it comes to Trump. But honestly, as crazy as this article is right here, right? Right through this whole thing, as crazy as this article is, I think they missed the big story. And that could help explain this.
Since Election Day, various guests, attorneys, and elected officials have appeared on Newsmax and offered opinions and claims about Smartmatic and Dominion systems, both companies that offer voting software in the U.S., and Newsmax would like to clarify its news coverage and note that it has not reported as true certain claims made about these companies.
Yeah, they just want to clarify. Now, if that sounded like it was written by a lawyer, that's because it probably was. Hidden in that CNN article I was reading about this supposed screwing match in the Oval Office is a report about White House staffers being told to hold on to all of their documents. See, Trump and his team have been making some pretty wild claims about companies like Dominion and Smartmatic, and those companies are starting to fight back and are exploring filing lawsuits against Trump's favorite fake news networks like Newsmax, which is why they're backpedaling faster than Lance Armstrong. Now, Smartmatic, which apparently, I guess, only operated in California during this entire 2020 election, doesn't really operate much in the United States, but they do operate in countries, in nations all over the world, right? And now they're getting calls from, governments and leaders, other politicians, worried about their contracts with this company. And I am not a legal genius. I'm not a lawyer. Don't pretend to be. I'm just a cool guy on YouTube. But they've probably got some pretty solid claims for a lawsuit. The thing is, it's a free country. You can say and do whatever you want. But that doesn't mean you're free from consequences. On to the next one here, y'all. Hope you guys are having a very Merry Christmas. I still haven't watched any Christmas movies yet. Ooh, that went down not as smooth as I hoped it would. But if you are getting in the Christmas spirit, hey, what if if you're in the Christmas spirit here, Christmas time, holiday, why don't you give me the gift of subscribing to my channel? Maybe give it a little like, little comment, something like that. I'd very much appreciate that, and it won't cost you a thing. Now, just in time for Christmas, the FDA has now approved 2 vaccines to battle the coronavirus epidemic. But if you think a COVID vaccine would make the perfect stocking stuffer, well, think again. Religious folks are pumping the brakes on the new COVID-19 vaccine. They say that at least one company working on the COVID vaccine is using cells derived from an 18-week-old fetus aborted in 1985, and are asking the government to encourage and incentivize the development of vaccines using cells that are not ethically problematic. Which goes to show you they might not be as pro-life as they claim to be. Now, honestly, I get that we all need to respect each other's viewpoints. And, but some religious folks might be getting a little out of hand during this whole pandemic. And it's just, it's one of those things. Like, I'm not the most religious guy in the world. I am very proud to say that I just got baptized a few months ago, and it's been great to explore more about my faith. But one of the core principles about, being a Christian is loving thy neighbor. And during this pandemic, it seems to me that there have been times where, some religious organizations have, not exactly been very, very neighborly, right? During this pandemic, religious leaders have sued to stop states' restrictions to stop the pandemic. And they've actually won. In a 5-4 ruling, the newly conservative Supreme Court, with Amy Coney Barrett being the deciding vote, has barred New York and essentially all other states in general from placing restrictions on religious institutions to fight the COVID-19 pandemic. Essentially what happened in New York here was that there was a really bad outbreak, and there was a church that was in the vicinity of this outbreak. And the deal was that, okay, things were so bad there that, all right, we're going to put on some very harsh restrictions. They took it to court, and now the Supreme Court has basically overruled the state there, which means that every other state in the country, their COVID restrictions could also be called into question. And again, don't call me crazy, but suing the government to allow you to reopen and spread COVID-19 just doesn't seem very neighborly, right? But it isn't just churches that seem to be fighting back against COVID-19 restrictions. I gotta admit, that's a little catchy there. That rocking party was a synagogue in New York where 7,000 people packed in for a wedding. It's not the best thing to do in a state that leads the nation with COVID-19 deaths, right? And the real problem here is with the numbers. The coronavirus vaccine currently approved, both of the coronavirus vaccines currently approved and are both 90% effective, but no one knows for how long. And for the pandemic to truly end, we need at least 70 to 75% of people to actually take it, which at this point, in general, seems like quite a bit of a long shot there, you know? So if some religious folks are deciding to back out because of their objections to a fetus being used that was aborted more than, 30 years ago, we could all be screwed. At this point, it'll be a miracle in and of itself if we'll hit that 70 threshold. But again, not very neighborly. Fix a little something there. Hopefully you guys like that little transition. It's kind of a fun new little thing I've added. Get a little, some fun music going on for the show. And just kind of helps me get things going here. I am a one-man band after all, so it can be sometimes difficult running this all by myself, but I do it all for you. So, taking another nice little drink for myself. Cheers to you. Hope you guys are all having a good night out there. Good stuff. But again, quite the kick. Nope. How is it going out there? If you haven't already, go ahead and like and subscribe to the channel. Hopefully you like what you hear. But hey, I found a lot of my subscribers just subscribe so they can, talk a little bit of shit on the videos. And I got no problem with that, Let me know what you think in the comments, especially with this one, because this might be a little bit of a controversial video. So you've probably heard that term socialism thrown out a lot the past few years, and I want to explain why. But before I get to that, you ever heard that old phrase, history repeats itself? Truly only thing constant is change. And I'm going to get into a quick little history lesson here. We've all heard a lot about the American Revolution and social studies, but do you know what was going on in France around that time? They were also rebelling against a king to establish a government run by the people. But the reasons for doing so were a little bit different. But as with most things in life, it all comes down to money. The 13 colonies were angry about being taxed and controlled by the British government here in America. In France, income inequality had become such a huge problem that the system was no longer sustainable. There was massive unemployment going on. Sorry, that might have been weird for you guys seeing those other kind of images there. My bad. There was massive unemployment going on in the late 1700s. At one point, a third of Paris was unemployed. Farmers couldn't keep up, and the food prices skyrocketed, while wages stayed pretty flat. France was also enduring a very high national debt, and most of the taxes were collected from poor people, while the wealthy elite were able to avoid paying their fair share. Now, you don't have to be an economics major to look at that and think, there's some very similar things to America in 2020. And, the sad truth is, we're not that far off, right? Here is a look at wealth distribution between, back at that time period in France, between 1760 and 90. And as you can see, it's actually a little bit worse nowadays, right? Compared to what it was back in back in the 1700s there. And that was 2016. You got to think about that. That was before Trump really took office, right? That was before the massive tax cut for the rich. And that was before the coronavirus pandemic really changed, the distribution of wealth in our country. And since then, things have only gotten worse, right? Since the beginning of the pandemic, billionaires in America, here in the United States, just the ones in the United States, have gained an additional $1 trillion in new wealth. $1 trillion. So while 26 million Americans went on unemployment, waited hours and hours in line to get food from food banks, and had to decide between paying rent or getting food, the billionaires here in the U.S. made $1 trillion. Now, you were waiting to find out whether you could pay your rent or with another stimulus check from the federal government, Elon Musk was moving to Texas. Now, not to hate on good old Elon there, but now the three richest people in the United States, Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, and Elon Musk, now pay zero in state income taxes. And hold on, you might get your little stimulus check for $600. Now, Republicans have always accused anything Democrats want to do as socialism. But the reason you're hearing more about it and more about it today is that this is just like before the French Revolution. This system isn't sustainable anymore. I mean, don't get me wrong, capitalism is great and has been great for a long time. But over the last couple of years, it seems that's only working great for a few of us. You can still make a good living in America. But for a growing number of Americans, it's just not working anymore, right? And, I can't say if socialism is better or what comes next, but I can definitely clearly see that it's not working for a lot of people out there, right? And one thing that's also changed very recently, and I was kind of thinking about this after I finished this script, but for a lot of folks, they looked at college as the way to move up in society, right? You get your education, you're guaranteed a better job and a better way of life, right? But I don't know if you know any recent college grads, but it's way harder to find a job than it used to be. Don't get me wrong. Like I said, I think capitalism is a great system. I think capitalism has a lot of benefits to it, but it seems like it's not working out that well these days. And as I said before, there's one constant, and that's change. And as they say, history does have a tendency to repeat itself. What is going on, y'all? Hope you all are doing well. Hope I'm in focus there. Trying to make sure it's all good. I just gotta lean back. I got no problem leaning back though. I'm all out. Need to get a production assistant to bring me some more here. Assuming I can. All I have here to help me out is my dog though. So I highly doubt he's gonna be able to get me another drink. But I could hope. Anyway, back to the show. So, the big question is, did Trump do a good? Something I'm sure a lot of you out there never thought I would say anything good about Trump. A lot of folks think I'm a crazy leftist on this show, but Hey, I call it like I see it. But before I get into that, if you haven't already, go ahead and like this video, subscribe to the channel, and leave me a comment. I want to know what you're thinking, right? I mean, especially if this, you mentioned, the words Trump and good, and people are either going to love it or they're going to hate it. But either way, I want to know. Now, it only took, let's take a look at this. It only took, let's see, that's 1,434 days, 34,418 hours. I'm not going into the minutes there, but over 2 million minutes and a lot of seconds for Trump to do something that we can finally all agree with.
Just when I think you couldn't possibly be any dumber, you go and do something like this. And totally redeem yourself!
Now, I know a lot of conservatives out there aren't going to agree, but come on. We can't joke. You don't like Dumb and Dumber 2? Come on, man. It's a funny movie. Anyway, yesterday, Trump said he might not sign the $900 billion stimulus package. And honestly, I agree with him on this one. But, if you think he's doing this because he really wants to help people, you might be wrong. But I'll get to that in a second. First, this deal took months and months to put together, right? It was 5,000 pages long. And apparently, congressional members, representatives, had just 2 hours to read it. Yeah. It's just a tiny little ridiculous. In fact, it was so ridiculous that it's got conservatives agreeing with AOC, which is just absolutely crazy. Let me blow that up for you just so you can read that. It says, I might be sick, y'all. I can't believe I'm about to type this. I agree with AOC. Man, was that tough to type out. Well, Eric, I hope that you are okay. Welcome, welcome to reality. Because yes, this is wow. Now, keep in mind, if this bill does not pass, right, it doesn't pass, Americans lose unemployment benefits on Saturday, and the government could shut down on Monday. Talk about waiting to the last minute. But again, 5,000 page bill there's a lot of crazy stuff in this one. Let's take a look. Apparently, there is a part of this bill that includes COVID relief, and it also has a section detailing the reincarnation of the Dalai Lama. Yes. Okay, so basically this is a part of the bill lays out, the process for the reincarnation of the Dalai Lama. No offense to people out there, no offense to anyone who, maybe practices I believe it's the Buddhist faith, but I don't know. I feel like there might be some more important things going on now. Just maybe. Also, another part of this bill is that if you are streaming, if you're streaming this on YouTube or Facebook or Instagram or wherever, even on Twitter, look at that, you're all good. But if you were hoping to stream your favorite Christmas movie this holiday season, or you might want to think about something else. Maybe get a little DVD, because if this bill passed, that stream could cost you 10 years in prison. That's right. Illegal streaming could be a felony now with the new COVID relief bill. I will unfortunately have to find somewhere other way to watch my Falcons lose on Sunday. And, if you thought, hey, does it get crazier? Oh, it gets much crazier. If you know any servers out there or are friends with any servers, well, they could soon have to give over their tips to pay the chefs, right? The folks making the food. So right now, it's the owners that pay that bill, but it could be coming out of these servers' pockets to try to help owners be able to, squeeze a little bit more money out of them during this coronavirus pandemic. And I don't know about you, but when you think about a server, they're not very wealthy to begin with. So the idea that they're going to lose money, just not that great. So again, if you think this bill was great, and think, hey, finally Trump's standing for the American people. He's finally, really standing up to these crooked politicians here. Then why did he do it today? If you thought Americans deserved 2,000, why isn't being agreeing with Democrats who've been saying the same thing for months? I mean, months. Has Trump just, maybe he just hasn't been paying attention, which he is known to do. But it could also be something else. This could also be part of Trump's tried and true strategy of just kind of throwing shit out there to distract you from whatever else is going on, right? He tweets one thing so you don't see the other thing, right? And in this case, that other thing was pardoning a lot of people, including former Blackwater contractors convicted of war crimes after they gunned down 14 civilians, including children, in Iraq. Now, they probably got a pardon because Blackwater is owned by Education Secretary Betsy DeVos's brother, Eric Prince. He's also chosen to pardon other people who have been convicted of heinous crimes, including, including people connected to the Russia probe, right? He said, "Oh yeah, it's the Russia stuff. It's fake," and it's one of those things for people who say it's all just drummed up to get Trump. Well, they got a lot of convictions out of it, but a lot of those people convicted of this, the ones who stayed quiet and stayed loyal to Trump, are now out of prison. Other folks who actually agreed to work with the federal government didn't get a pardon. Did not get a pardon somehow. Also, someone who got a pardon is corrupt politicians, right? Guys like Duncan Hunter. Now, Hunter actually was supposed to spend 11 months in prison for misusing campaign funds, and that prison sentence was supposed to start in January. Basically, what good old Hunter did was he took money from the Republicans, right? Republican donors that gave him money to get reelected and go fight the Democrats in Congress, right? And instead, he used your money, that's right, your money out there, to have sex with a bunch of women who were not his wife. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't Trump supposed to be draining the swamp? Like I thought this was all about. He's supposed to be draining the swamp here. Kind of seems like he's filling it back up again. So really, I think this whole thing about, trying to get more money in these stimulus checks is trying to distract people from some of these pardons. Just today, he pardoned Charles Kushner, the father of Jared Kushner, who you might remember, actually, his sister was married to a guy. He hired a prostitute to sleep with his sister's husband and recorded it on video. Yes, that guy is free now. But hey, I guess maybe still draining the swamp, right? But hey, who knows? Maybe this will work and they'll actually add to the stimulus. I'd say probably not, but hey, we'll see. Highly doubtful. And if you were keeping your hopes up that, Trump was gonna pull one out here, he just left D.C. to go down to Florida. And House Republicans have refused to agree with House Democrats who have gone on and said, all right, let's go ahead and pass something. Let's get this $2,000 out there. And Trump has apparently not called the Republicans to try to force them to make a deal here. So probably not going to happen, but we will see. I am an optimist. Last thing I want to say about this is it's very interesting seeing people's reactions to it, right? It came out late last night and people were immediately against it because Trump did it. Because apparently Orange Man can do no good. Now Trump's like, I want to give you more money, and people are out there like, no good. That came from you. I can't accept this. But the thing is, if that's your response to this, you're honestly no different than those crazy Trumpers that, liberals say you're no different than those crazy Trumpers that liberals say they hate so much, right? Government is about two sides coming together to get things done. There's a lot of bad things Trump has done as president. He has been very, very far from perfect. He's currently trying to pull off a slow-moving coup to throw out the results of the 2020 election. And if you're out there and you hated the term defund the police, well, I hate to break it to you, but it looks like Trump just defunded the military by refusing to sign the latest defense bill, right? Now, that bill's still going to get passed, but it's going to have to go back to Congress, and they're probably all going to vote on it to override what his, veto essentially would be. But yeah, That's who Trump is. But hey, even a broken clock is right twice a day. And if we want to figure out how to move on and get back to normal as a country, we've got to stop demonizing the other side so much, right? This isn't a football game. There's no scoreboard. Politics shouldn't be about owning the libs or canceling the conservatives. It should be about helping our fellow Americans have better lives, right? So who cares why Trump has just thrown this out there? And I mean, if it helps, if it actually works and helps put food on the table for millions of Americans suffering right now, that's a good thing. And that's something that we should all, get behind. Again, I think he's doing this for other reasons, but we shouldn't just hate everything Trump does because Trump did it. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Hey, how's it going out there? Last story of the night, and it's a good one. So, I do like to listen to my subscribers, and I posted a video that I saw this week that just kind of made me happy. And a lot of folks out there that were like, they thought it was very refreshing to see some kind of good news, Politics always seems like it's so much like the left versus the right, and it just always seems fighting. It seems, like people are always fighting, can turn a lot of people off, and I totally kind of get that. But I decided to cover a good story. Now, if you haven't already, let me start this a little differently. I'm gonna do something a little different and fresh. And I'll just simply say, hey, thanks so much for watching. Thanks so much for checking out Citizen Pete. If you do me a favor, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Maybe leave me a like, sign up for some notifications, and leave me a comment. Right? I'd love to know what you're actually thinking here. So, when you look at anything political nowadays, it can all seem pretty bleak. If the 2020 election taught us anything, it's that we're more divided than ever. We've all seen that on the news and all over the media. But does it just seem that way? Is that really true? Americans, we don't really agree on a lot of stuff. Right? There's a lot of things that divides us, but we don't talk about enough what we do agree on. Now, there was a poll out that was published in Politico, right? And it was a survey from Harvard University, very classy, and it looked at what rights were most essential to being an American. And that's a weird way to ask a question, right? But this article, it was trying to figure out essentially what is most important to the people out there, right? What is most important to folks? And the right to clean air, for example, was considered important by 93% of those surveyed. Protection of personal data by 93% as well. The right to a quality education, 92%. Racial equality by 92% as well. Affordable health care, 89% of people agreed on that. And the right to a job, 85% of people agreed on that one. So when it comes to what's best, most important, we all seem to agree, right? Well, what's most important to folks, we all seem to agree on that. We also seem to agree on things in the United States aren't exactly going that well. 4 out of 5 voters say the nation is out of control. 80% of people say we are on a not so good path, right? That is a very, very high number. And when you look at the media and the political divide in this country, it's very clear people have very different ideas on how to get it back to, things to get back under control again. But isn't the first step to fixing the problem recognizing that there's a problem that needs to be fixed in the first place? I get why people, look at anything political and they just kind of hate watching it. and they kind of get tired. It just seems like people are constantly fighting. But trust me, there is hope on the horizon, right? When it comes to things, like caring for your kids, or wanting to provide a better life for them, or wanting to provide a better life for yourself, Americans, by and large, do agree on these things. We just have different paths on getting there, right? So, if things seem bleak, just keep watching. Yeah, there's definitely better things, coming our way soon. Hopefully. And with that, that is the... Oops. Sorry, I hit the button too quick. And with that, that is the end of Citizen Pete Live. Again, have a very, very Merry Christmas. Happy Christmas Eve to y'all. And I will be checking in with you guys soon, hopefully before the new year.